spaces, transportation, cities, enterprises, energy, and digital trust. We believe technology is forging a brighter future.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for participating in the Mobile 360 Digital Industry Summit today. Okay, my name is Kevin Henry. I'm the head of GSMA Strategic Engagement for APAC. And today we have three different segments, okay? The first is actually connected manufacturing, which is going to be this session, which is 11:30 to 1. Then we'll break for lunch. Then we'll go to the next one, which is advanced mobility and transportation, 2 to 3:30 p.m. And finally, we'll have digital healthcare, 4 to 5:30 p.m. All right? So this is the agenda. It's quite full with one keynote. Actually, there's one opening and 3 keynotes, and then a panel session. Okay? So these are the speakers, distinguished speakers. Thank you for actually participating and sharing your insights. So basically, data is revolutionizing manufacturing, right? Tools like AI, video analytics, and machine learning are supercharging throughput, optimizing supply chains, and accelerating innovation. And even greater change is being made possible by a combination of hyper-distributed edge computing and ultra-high capacity real-time connectivity. For the next 1.5 hours, you'll be listening to various key speakers, panelists on this topic, which I'd like to thank in advance again. Let's firstly introduce you to Mr. Julian Gorman, who is the head of GSMA APAC, and he will actually share the 5G transformation of landscape. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you very much. Well, welcome. First, I'd like to welcome Dr. Chen Hui, Dennis Wong from Singtel, like Dennis, and Sebastian Tang, good friend from ST Engineering, and all the other speakers and panelists today. This is the start of the summit, and so actually I get to share some bigger picture story about the transformation landscape, not just talk about manufacturing. So I'd like to start with highlighting that it's been 3 years since our first launches of 5G around the world. It's now available in more than 70 countries. In 4G, it took more than 7 years to get to this stage. There are now more 5G phone models, more 5G devices than at this time in 4G. And this, we forecast this year that more than 1 billion people will start to use 5G this year. And that is on its way to 25% of all global users by 2025. That, to give you contrast, in 2018, we were only forecasting that would be 14%. So you can see 5G is going a lot faster than we first thought. So some of you might be saying, though, where is your 5G? Where's the experience? When do I see it? And so really to start to consider 5G as, you really need to understand that 5G is part of a bigger portfolio of technologies that are maturing roughly at the same time. So IoT, big data, cloud, edge, and AR, VR, just to name a few. So, I think this whole event gives you an opportunity to explore and understand more about 5G. But to give you some additional context, We recently published our APAC Mobile Economy Report, where this data comes from, and you can get much more information from the report. But basically, we have some pioneer markets like China, Korea, and to us, even Singapore, which are pushing the boundaries and exploring the extents of the technology to solve industry problems, to create efficiencies, and to refine the technology. Singapore is one of the first nations to do standalone at a national level. Recently with Singtel announcing 95% population coverage, which is a big step forward as a pioneer. The big thing about those pioneers is they're also creating a scale. With any new technology, scale helps drive costs down and efficiencies and refine the product. If you can contrast that with some of the other regions of the world, you can see there that in places like Sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America, we don't really expect 5G to make a massive inroads for some time, but they will benefit from the advantage of trickle-down technology. So what's invented in the pioneers will eventually trickle down to the other markets. But when it comes to Asia Pacific, we have an incredibly diverse region. You have countries like Korea and Singapore, which are at the leading edge. We've got 85+% adoption of mobile broadband, high penetration of smartphones, and the population is very tech savvy. Contrast that with some of the larger population markets like India and Pakistan, where you have less than 40% of the population are using mobile broadband, yet more than 90% are covered. And that's where we call the usage gap. So in Asia Pacific, we actually expect that 4G adoption is going to peak around 71% or just over 70% in the next couple of years, and then start to decline as 5G rises. But at the moment, 4G remains the very dominant technology across Asia Pacific, and will do for some time. But if you look at where the mobile operators are spending their capex, about 75% of mobile operator capex till 2025 will be spent on 5G. That's about $130 billion across the region. So by 2025, there'll be more than 400 million 5G connections in Asia Pacific. It's already commercially available in 14 countries, with many other countries actually coming online. The big countries like India, Indonesia, and Vietnam are to launch soon. And so the dynamics of regional 5G innovation are set to change from pioneers to a much broader base. Nevertheless, the large markets where there's still years of 4G growth to come, actually there is opportunity to grow the ecosystem, and so it's not to look past those countries as opportunities to actually start innovation and grow the ecosystem, which will later on support 5G. But overall, the diversity of ideas, diversity of maturity, and the scale, along with the addressable market, promise that APAC continue to be a region for mobile innovation, as it has become in 4G. However, success does require nurturing. It won't be a success on its own. And so to maximize the potential of 5G in industries, we must apply focus, we must apply investment, and we must learn from our success and mistakes of the past. So in ASEAN, McKinsey quite helpfully a couple of years ago forecast that actually the difference between success and failure in Industry 4.0 could be up to a massive $400 billion just across ASEAN. And that's the potential between we get it right and we don't be so successful. And we now have critical momentum in a number of the factors which are going to come together to drive that impact. IoT devices, strong computing power with edge cloud, the 5G networks coming on board, private networks, the growth of AI and business intelligence opportunity, that helps grow us a lot. And we're now starting to see, obviously, those innovation in form factors. If you've ever strapped on a VR headset, or you're starting to see the glasses, the change that will make into the way we interact with the internet and with online is what's going to really drive the next era of innovation. So from a GSMA point of view, we consider that there's three key factors around the 5G transformation landscape which you need to get right. The first one is we're seeing around what we call digital economic growth drivers. So these are massive industrial or enterprise activities where they're intensive economic hubs. You get it right or you have an impact, it can make significant contributions to the economy. And nowhere more in Singapore is visible and known to the general public the importance of ports and airports and the role they play in economic growth. Ports and airports the world over are subject to trials and commercial launches. I don't think there's any major national airport that's probably not involved in some sort of trial that has 5G. But they're complex operating facilities. They have lots of moving assets. They're large sites which already have autonomous vehicles. But they are places where efficiency can be measured in seconds. Large diversified workforces and stakeholders that create scale and an economic business case that stand out as opportunities for efficiency and transformation. Of course, autonomous vehicles, heavy equipment on the move with people around them, work environments, have significant safety and cost consequences of failure. And we also see areas of those play a big role in ports and airports and even mine sites and refineries and those sort of things. So what we do is we call them the economic intensive hubs. And they're areas for innovation to focus and possibility for the networked coverage to be intensified so that innovation is allowed to proceed. The next layer is the sectors for transformation. And if there's individual big economic intensive hubs, trickles down into actually sectors. And so in those sectors, we see the key sectors, and which you'll see in the summit today, are really around manufacturing, transport and logistics, and finally healthcare. And so without wanting to steal the thunder of the rest of the day, manufacturing is really around enabling smart factories, robots, high density of sensors that can monitor and create efficiencies and reduce human error and flexibility. In transport, I've mentioned ports and airports, but anywhere we have large autonomous moving vehicles, asset-heavy installations, that many of the innovations from the large hubs can actually trickle down to lower level logistics and transport hubs and be applied to smaller and diversified applications. Finally, in healthcare, it's a very exciting area. Autonomous robots, real-time imaging, low latency remote control have correlations with other sectors, but there's also significant opportunities in training and through VR and AR. Final level where we see around the transformation innovation landscape is really that the case studies of the early ports and things highlight the need for collaboration intensity. So you need the growth and stimulation of innovation ecosystems that bring together the different stakeholders to drive the innovation. In the past, mobile technology innovation, has largely been driven by infrastructure competition. And without ubiquitous 5G coverage or infrastructure competition, it's even more critical to allow 5G to be intensified to allow innovation to occur. Infrastructure competition obviously is only part of the ecosystem that required to be nurtured and provide solutions for over 5G. And we certainly encourage in any nation to have multiple 5G networks to encourage innovation. Nurturing a rich and vibrant ecosystem, of course, means we have to be willing to push the boundaries and confidence to learn from failure. And endurance and energy to try and, again, to drive the depth and explore what's necessary is part of encouraging an ecosystem. At the GSMA, we have launched APAC 5G industry community. Many of the people in the room are part of or have been exposed to that community. And we certainly encourage it. Over 600 organizations have participated in that community over the last 12 months. And in our community, we seek to accelerate the adoption of 5G and IoT by industry and enterprise by strengthening operator and industry partnerships and sharing knowledge. And increasingly, we see the need to support different horizontal and vertical ecosystems across the world interact and connect. Of course, and my final thing, I'd like to say we obviously invite you all to join the APAC 5G industry community, participate in the journey towards the potential of a 5G in industry. And we'd like to thank our major partners such as Huawei and working with IMDA and others, Singtel, in working to create that community, increase the richness and encourage innovation. So with that a quick summary and quick run around the world, I'm going to hand it back to Kevin to introduce the next speaker. And thank you very much. Enjoy the day. I hope you stay throughout it and learn and debate and be part of the discussion, because it's how we bring the community together that actually drives us all together forward, 5G. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Julian, for opening the session, Connected Manufacturing. I think you all saw the numbers. It's 200 to 500 billion. So That's quite a sizable amount for us to tap into, right, in the next few years. 2025 is very near. All right, next up, we have our esteemed speaker, Dr. Ong Chen Hui, who is the Assistant Chief Executive for the Business and Technology Group of IMDA. She will be speaking about how connected manufacturing is essential for smart nations. Dr. Chen.
Hello, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces here, so hello. Thank you very much, GSMA, for inviting me to this session. I'm Chen Hui from the Infocom and Media Development Authority of Singapore, or IMDA for short. I'm the Assistant Chief Executive of the Business and Technology Group. And what that means is that I drive the industry development as well as the research strategy around communications, around AI and data, as well as around trust technologies. Yeah, so I'm here today to talk about smart manufacturing. And today, manufacturing accounts for 21% of Singapore's GDP. And it employs actually 12% of our workforce. So this is a very important sector for Singapore. And it has been an engine for growth and will continue to be our engine of growth. So due to the COVID pandemic, we see that manufacturers here, as well as worldwide, are actually increasing in their adoption of digital technologies. In a recent study by IBM, actually 2 out of 3 manufacturers have accelerated their digital adoption during the pandemic, adopting solutions that will enable a remote workforce, such as remote monitoring of assets, such as the integration of their IT and operations for more advanced analytics, as well as for cybersecurity. And in line with Industry 5.0, there's actually an increasing focus as well for manufacturers to start measuring their carbon footprint and fulfill their sustainability goals. So our vision for Manufacturing 2030 is for Singapore to become a global business innovation and talent hub for advanced manufacturing. Today, Singapore is the 4th largest exporter of high-tech products worldwide. And the 2020 Bloomberg Innovation Index ranked us 2nd globally for manufacturing value add. We want to continue growing our manufacturing sector over the next 10 years and to increase the proportion of the sector that is in advanced manufacturing. Doing so will allow us to grow the quality of the products produced here, as well as the intellectual property that is owned by our companies. And hence, it is actually important for our manufacturing sector that is able to innovate and advance with each bound of technology, and that our manufacturing workforce are able to effectively leverage on each bound of technology to innovate and build competitive edge for our companies. 5G is one such technology. The connected factory has traditionally used Wi-Fi in order to connect machines as well as devices. But today, we are starting to see that the connected factories are moving towards 5G. Because 5G can unlock possibilities that on the manufacturing floor that wasn't possible before with Wi-Fi. How so? First is that 5G allows robots, drones, cranes, and robotic arms, right, to become untethered and truly mobile. 5G allows thousands of devices to be connected to a single base station. It provides a quality of service guarantees that relieves the factory floor from issues around communication congestion that are common in Wi-Fi. And it also allows service differentiation that enable the different applications in the connected factory to work seamlessly. In addition, 5G also works in both indoors and outdoors environments. Imagine that one day, the robots and the cranes are not confined to the factory floor and can move freely from indoors to outdoors or between buildings. Imagine what applications then might be possible. Second, today's connected factory is actually more, oops, I realize I haven't been moving the slides. Okay, sorry about that. Second, today's connected factory is actually more powerful when it is integrated with other key foundational technologies, such as digital twins, such as AI, such as IoT, and augmented and extended reality. 5G is able to support video streams without jitter, right, and allows advanced algorithms to process the data and video streams collected in near real time. So as a result, 5G is able to boost reliability and new forms of interactions. For example, IBM, Samsung, and M1 has trialed the deployment of 5G in their Industry 4.0 studio, using augmented reality for over-the-shoulder maintenance support, as well as equipping mobile robots with visual recognition, acoustics analytics, and video analytics capabilities. Last but not least, 5G also supports software-defined networking and network virtualized networks. So with this, what it means is that we can reconfigure the manufacturing floor, allowing the layout and connectivity access to suit the agile business needs. And such flexibility will actually allow for collaborations across the business chain that can effectively reap the benefits of a connected factory. We are already seeing connected manufacturing use cases in Singapore, and these use cases actually leverage on 5G. So because this session is really concentrated around smart manufacturing, so we went and looked at the 3 ways in which 5G actually allows a connected factory to work differently. So I mentioned earlier that IBM actually uses AI for acoustics analytics as well as video analytics for Industry 4.0. Analytics is definitely one of the top applications that connected factories are using. But we're also seeing that companies across sectors, and including manufacturing, are using 5G-enabled mixed reality solutions that can dynamically overlay models over the products being built. And such solutions enable seamless as well as safe collaborations between on-site personnel, between the remote office and the remote officers, as well as with clients. Right? They facilitate discussions, remote maintenance, and even training. The third is on hyper-personalized manufacturing. Mobile robots, which are a common sight on manufacturing floors, are increasingly being used in a more multi-use and collaborative manner. And this may include reconfiguring them flexibly for hyper-personalized manufacturing to facilitate the production of built-to-order parts. So 5G can transform operations. I hope I've convinced you of that. Now, while enterprises are very excited about 5G, it is still always a journey towards commercial viability. And this journey is not always simple or straightforward. So as Julian said just now, success requires nurturing. And that's our role here in IMDA. We are here to help companies pivot, pilot, and adopt 5G. So back in 2019, back when 5G public networks are not common yet, we started supporting pilots through our 5G innovation and ecosystem development program. So this program actually funded early pilots and trial infrastructure to anchor key industry players across the sectors. And through it, we've funded PSA, we've also funded the IBM trials. But we also are looking at what needs to be done as the public infrastructure is rolling out over the past few years. And we are now shifting gears to look at how we can democratize access as well as to support commercial adoption. Today, we have made 4 living labs available for enterprises to experiment with 5G. They are at Pixel, Maritime Drone Estate, Science Park, and Sentosa. And at these locations, you can leverage on the free connectivity over our public networks to actually try new applications and to collaborate with your partners. We are also making standalone test beds available in our universities. These test beds, being standalone, allow for a different kind of experimentations that are not possible on the open networks, such as research experimentations, engineering experiments, and including cybersecurity experiments. And you can do that over 5G as well as over Open RAN. And as 5G deployment starts to go mainstream, we are now focusing on encouraging organic B2B partnerships for more innovative 5G use cases. Last year, we made 30 million available through our 5G innovation program. And this is to accelerate the adoption of 5G applications and services. So through this program, we work with companies to build their solutions as well as their business cases, so as to enable the sectors and the businesses to transform with 5G. And it is not possible to do transformation without the skilled manpower as well. So we are also investing to nurture manpower as well as talent in the communication space. We have leveraged on our Tech Skills Accelerator Program, or TESA for short, to address workforce needs through the 5G Academy. And more recently, we have also started awarding master scholarships for students who want to go a little bit deeper in order to pursue research topics within 5G. PhD scholarships are also available, so if any one of you are interested, please feel free to apply. So looking into the future, IMDA is also investing in the next bound of mobile comms. You have heard this morning from our chief executive that we have launched a 70 million future communications research and development program last year. And the purpose of this program is to look ahead to 6G as well as Open RAN research. As part of the program, we're also looking to support applied research as well as collaborative co-development with industry players around smart manufacturing. The details will be announced soon, so please look out for our announcements that are coming up. This is my last slide. So here in IMDA, what we want to do is to be architects of Singapore's digital future. I'm very privileged to have this opportunity today to be sharing what we've learned about 5G in connected manufacturing as we build capabilities for Singapore, as we uplift our industries, as we grow the ecosystem, and as we train our manpower. So we're always looking for new ways to collaborate and to drive impactful transformation for Singapore. So I look forward to any discussions later on how we can develop transformative smart manufacturing applications. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chen, for your valuable insights in how smart manufacturing is essential for smart nations. Okay, moving on, we have our second keynote speaker, Mr. Dennis Wong, who is the Vice President for Enterprise 5G and Platforms of Singtel. His topic will be on how 5G is unleashing future manufacturing. Dr. Chen.
Right, thank you, Dr. Ong, and good to see everyone here. And actually, I'm very glad to be here after Dr. Ong speaks, because she has put up all the statistics and what the government is doing. And really, well, we're working very closely with IMDA to make the manufacturing and, in fact, the deployment of 5G a reality. So today, what you will hear from me is not really about what 5G can do, but rather a lot of experience and insight. As we have already worked with a lot of our industry players, we have learned quite a fair bit from all of them. And to make sure that what's next step is really about deployment, as what Dr. Ong says. How do we make it real? So I'll be sharing quite a fair bit about the difficulties that the enterprise finds, the manufacturing is looking at, and what can we do to make it real. I mean, we have, similar to Dr. Ong, why can't we make 5G the default, kind of connectivities with its superior performance, with its security, and with all the ecosystem, and especially, from 3GPP, from GSMA, the standardizing, and making all these things work. So why can't we make it happen? So I'm going to just share a little bit about my experience, as well as, from Singtel, working with all the other partners, where we're going to be here, where we're going to be next, and how we're going to do it. Anyone? No need more introduction about 5G. I think we all know that 5G is just beyond connectivities. It brings about much more things. The architecture brings along the other technology. It brings along more than just connectivity. It brings on latency. It brings along compute. It brings about a lot of security part of thing. And because of the standardization that it brings, it actually bridges a lot of what you call the ecosystems. Next, 5G being more exposed, being much more what we call stronger in terms of connectivities and its capability, it actually gives us much more insights, much more data. It gives us a lot of what we call valuable information about externality as well as trends. And importantly, for all digital, I would say, ecosystem for digital, kind of like industry as well, and even smart nation, it brings about the capability of making it happen. And most importantly as well, we all know for 5G, in 2014, and when I was a part of the what we call the NGMN, one of the key things is about sustainability. So while we talk about manufacturing today, we also want to make sure that we don't forget about sustainability as well. We all know that the mobile industry has always been revolving around consumer. What this slide is trying to share with you is just that from many research, we all know that 5G enable enterprise much more than the consumer. There is not one killer app. There's much more what we call killer apps in the industry than just consumer. So what we are looking at that, in the next few years to come, hopefully much earlier, enterprise will be the key, what we call driver of mobility. Now, I'm not going to say that 5G is going to be, the solve-all, all right? 5G has its own unique use case. This slide is trying to share with everyone that this is actually, there's a sweet spot. And the sweet spot is not just about latency or bandwidth that 5G can bring. It actually brings about a lot of things on the low latency and what we call the service assurance, network slicing, analytics, edge compute, and enabling of artificial intelligence. As you can see, some of these are here already, like cloud gaming, drones, AGV, AMR, video analytics, but some still a long way to go, like for example, autonomous driving. So there is a sweet spot, and what I'm sharing with you today is going to be some of the information that we share, that we have gotten from our partners. I was very glad also that, a good segue from Dr. Ong. These are the key things that she mentioned also. So, I'm just going to repeat it. But what we're saying is that there are technologies that's right for 5G. As you can see, the robotics, drones, video analytics, digital twin, AR, MR. These are technologies that we can already apply today. We are working with our customers and our enterprises to make this real. We are not talking about autonomous driving yet, but that will come. But at this point of time, like all technology, evolution and progress. So where we are today is really about putting all this into good use. Now, however, 5G being connectivity, you have compute, you have cloud, you have data analytics, you have AI. Even, as was mentioned earlier, we want mobility. Not confined indoor. You want to go outdoor. You want to go to another place. You want to move your cloud, your workload from one VM to another VM. The key question is that in order for enterprise to do that, there's a lot of hard work. How do you put networks together? How are you going to put the edge compute together? How are you going to put your cloud together? So a very good example, if today in any manufacturing, if they decided to have an AR, MR kind of application, first and foremost, the guy who has a use case will say, I need to build this. Maybe the project director say, okay, good, we should have this. So can you size up the bandwidth you need? Okay, infrastructure, network infrastructure guy, can you go and buy some bandwidth from Singtel? Then this guy will say, oh, I need this to be sitting on the cloud. Then the guy says, okay, the infra guy, can you go and spin up some servers, some VMs in type Azure, let's say. Then I'll say, okay, we need to have low latency running the AI. Okay, the IT guys, can you please spin up some VMs in my IT guys? Then everyone will start to say, this is my requirement, this is how it's going to work, how this API is going to work with this. And then it will take some weeks, some months to get it going. I think this is real. Everyone has seen this, right? So the question is that, how do we actually put this together? And this is one of the, what we call the difficulty that the enterprise has shared with us. And this is something that is real. So while we talk about adoption of 5G, the technology is there. The actual deployment, the actual, what we call, putting it into place by the industries takes a bit of time. They do have this difficulty. So if you look at this, all enterprise, based on their business driver, they need predictive, they need real time, they need automation, they need hyperconnectivities, they need efficiency. But yet, if you look at most of the digital organization today, this is actually not in place. Some of them are, but not all. How many of us in the same company has actually different clouds, has actually different data lake? It is not possible. So in the new age, as we build this capability with our enterprise, we say that how do we extend your infra as a service? You can spin up application without involving the infra guy in your factories. How can you do it in such a way that is efficient? That if today in my factory, if I decided that I have 10 cameras, I decide to put under 10 cameras, automatically the bandwidth at the back will be spin up. The VM for the AI will be spin up. If not, your manufacturing is going to be inefficient. We talk about configurable factory. We say that all the production lines should be able to move. But if every time you move means a 2 or 3 day downtime for the factory, no production for the factory, it's going to be difficult. So how 5G and how the actual operation is going to help you is a question that many of the manufacturers actually shared with us. And one of the things that I think we did mention, right? Coming back to the basics, why 5G? And now you all know why I said I'm very glad to be after Dr. Ong, because she did mention that why 5G is much more superior than Wi-Fi. And this is not from Singtel. This is actually from one of our customers who has actually worked with us and says that, look, we want something more superior than Wi-Fi, more secure than Wi-Fi. And so they actually did a test. As you can see the transaction time is much better. You can see that latency is much better. And most importantly, the performance over antenna is much better. The performance over the distance for the antenna is actually much better. And actually one of the most important thing for Wi-Fi, being an unlicensed band, whenever there's loading, when you start to load it beyond 50%, you can see the efficiency go down. Whereas from Singapore perspective, our 5G, which is a licensed band, every time the loading goes up, the performance is not being affected. So this is actually a very important, what we call, I would say, a result that, again, not from us, but rather from our customers. And certainly, we work with a lot of research and development in industries as well. I'm going to share with you a video that's not done by us, but one of our partners called ARTC. ARTC is, as you know, from A-Star. They are the one who is helping advanced manufacturing in Singapore. Together, collaborating with Singtel, we have put a 5G, what we call enabled, environment for them, millimeter wave, 3.5 gigahertz, the MEC. And while there are many use cases, we did a whole bunch of things. Digital twins, ARMR, AMR, we did a lot of edge caching, and all this from all the manufacturers who are actually with ARTC, they were very surprised by the performance of 5G. I'm going to share with you a video that, around the ARTC factory, comparing 5G and Wi-Fi. Remember, for 5G itself, from every cell, is actually synchronized. Every cell, there is a proper handover. It's just like you, when you take a mobile phone, you can walk from here to outside to City Hall to the MRT station, your call won't drop. Whereas for Wi-Fi, for every SSID AP point, there will be a drop. There is a performance issue. So as you can see from that video itself, just a very simple video to share with you that 5G is much more efficient and much more, I would say, the superior than Wi-Fi. Now, of course, I think, together working with ARTC again, it's really about putting the manufacturing into a real use case. And this is, again, what we have been doing. But we also are aware that, for the more advanced manufacturing company, they already got some ideas they want to do. Like, for example, in one of the discussion, with one of the factories, manufacturing, a very important manufacturer in coming to Singapore, they said that in Singapore, we no longer want to bring in a factory that's a replica from America or from China. I know that very well. I used to work in Motorola. And one of my job then was like, whatever in US they have, We try to bring in Singapore, we try to replicate everything, and we try to learn from that. We go there and learn. And then we build the same factory, and then we call it the most advanced factory. But today, I think we have to change that. For Singapore, we want to be the one that is creating a flagship factory so that it will be exported to somewhere else. And so we're very glad to work with one such company, right? They are going to bring their manufacturing in Singapore. They are talking about meta factories. They are talking about digital factories with autonomous driving along a test track. They are talking about battery as a service. So they also speak to us about, having flexible cell manufacturing. This is very important because, like, for example, in the past, what will happen is that parts go to the cell. And when the parts go to the cell is actually fixed. You can only make one production. However, if the cell can be flexible, means that you can have different color, you can have different customization. And I will share with you that also that, one of our partners, like I said earlier, ARTC, they do have a live manufacturing plant in ARTC that's doing hyper customization. We are not talking about customization, it's hyper customization. I think all of you know, and like I say, I always use this example. Some of you probably heard it before. I run and I buy shoes. I buy shoes from Nike.com. Some of you know, Nike.com got this version called Nike by You. Nike by You means you can choose the color you want, the different soles you want, the shoelaces, everything. Do you know that if I buy it, customize it, it will be sent to me exactly the same time if I buy the off-the-shelf version. This is going to be the real consumer lifestyle in the future, customization. So I think when we look at all these higher degrees of automation, human, robot collaboration, built-to-order intelligent factories, and immaculate quality controls, these are not unreal. These are real things that we are working together with our partners to make this happen in Singapore. But in the near term, one of the things I can share with you, and it's very interesting in terms of efficiency and sustainability, is this. Can you imagine a factory right now with a camera? The same camera that can be looking at defect, what we call detection. High resolution defect detection during the factory when we are working. But at night, the same camera can become a surveillance camera. And during the lunchtime, the same bandwidth that you're using for 5G becomes actually a staff, what we call benefit, by giving you more higher speed and higher, what we call bandwidth, to the staff to do internet serving. Sounds futuristic? It can be done. I want to explain to you that in the future, application should be sitting at the edge, and the camera, the devices, is going to be something that's just going to be an access. And the bandwidth can be controlled in that way, orchestrated. And so, I want to bring to you that how we are doing this. The Paragon platform that we have built in Singtel allows you to do that. In the same environment, in the same SIM profile, in the same camera, we can be driving new applications at any one time at your flexibility. We can drive the bandwidth anytime you want at a certain time. So the same AMR robots can be in the daytime, very sensitive, high bandwidth, doing all your manufacturing, delivery. But at night, it could be a low bandwidth security camera doing a surveillance. All this can be done by programmable. So that's why we have the Paragon platform, which actually acts as a marketplace for you to bring in applications as well. It connected to the network as a service, the MEC, and cloud. It orchestrates them across. In view of time, I am going to move forward. But if you are interested, please do check out our website or contact me or my colleague. So what's the key takeaway? Enterprises such as manufacturing definitely will be able to benefit from 5G and beyond. This is a takeaway that I want everyone to have. Next, I think increasingly 5G solution will be deployed as the ecosystem matures. I think this is very, very important. And with us, Singtel, together with Paragon, we have made a lot of what we call deployments, and there are certainly benefit that we can see comparing over 5G, comparing over Wi-Fi. And so therefore, making 5G a de facto kind of a connectivity is something that we certainly want to push for. And finally, Paragon can accelerate and simplify complicated, tedious deployment. Like I mentioned before, I can, on the single Paragon platform, go in, spin up a SIM card, give it the bandwidth it wants, go to the marketplace, take an app, spin it on the VMs in the MEC, create a cloud in Azure, and I stitch all this and push to an IP address, which could be a camera, and the camera immediately can fire out, and that is within minutes. So these are the kind of like a use case we believe is going to drive the adoption. Now, so I think, as I show the Wi-Fi stuff, you're saying that Wi-Fi, comparison chart, how do we do it? In fact, I think, IMDA also mentioned that they are creating test bed. And we know test bed is very important for all of us, and we do have a test bed ourselves. But one way is that other than bringing the test bed, you bringing the equipment to the test bed, why don't we bring the test bed to you? So then therefore, I just want to share with you guys that we have this thing called a Genie. It's a 5G in a box. And we have bring Genie to many factories. And the factories actually took this, set it up within 30 minutes, and the whole factory floor is actually powered with 5G. And with that itself, what we call test can be done. So I think with that, it makes the test bed much more, I would say that flexible, it brings to you. Okay, and now of course I think we are very glad to say that in partnership with Ericsson, where we built up this 5G in the box Genie, we actually win quite a fair bit of work with this as well. So again, so my final point is that for Singtel, we are not looking at future, but we are also helping you to deploy. So please let myself or my colleague knows if you are in any interest, and we hope that this will be something that is going to be helping Singapore to accelerate our adoption of 5G. Okay, wish everyone a very good conference, and with that I'm going to stop here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. For sharing how Singtel is actually unleashing the future of manufacturing, and your key point actually. 5G is default or de facto versus Wi-Fi. I think your stats clearly shows that. Thank you. Okay, our final keynote for this session, but definitely not the least, is Ms. Ong Tun Kim, who is General Manager for the Manufacturing Solutions of IBM. Ms. Tun will be discussing about how 5G boosts smart factories. Ms. Tun.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Great to see everyone in this community, and even greater to hear Dr. Ong speaks about how IMDA has supported IBM in our 5G-enabled Industry 4.0 studio. So thank you very much to IMDA for the support. And good to hear from Dennis Wong relating to his insights on the 5G and how it's connected to manufacturing. Now, we all know that the industries are changing rapidly, be it in the area of automation, technology, and people skills. And 5G is becoming, and is already right, the game changer in this Industry 4.0, especially as we talk about edge computing and hybrid cloud. So I'd like to share my perspective on how factories have transformed through the technologies and how 5G is a significant enabler in this transformation. Factories have transformed over the years, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with these stages. 3 stages, from a standard factory to an automated factory, and now, of course, to an intelligent or smart factory. So in a standard factory, organization monitors the performance based on historical and not real-time data. Implemented lean manufacturing for optimization, as well as upgraded operations with the manufacturing execution systems. Processes are usually manual, shop floor, no connectivity, and you're running on isolated machines. How about an automated factory? Now, automated factory used the hardware and the software robotics for implementing repetitive tasks, IoT for real-time data analytics, and you can also implement predictive maintenance and data sharing. However, what is missing is the intelligence that limits the capabilities of automation. And therefore, that leads us now to the intelligent or smart factory, where the machines are self-learning, self-directed, as well as self-correcting. Shop floors are now connected with IoT, and the workflows are aligned with capabilities relating to cognitive. And there are data sharing across ecosystems. And the digital twins are in place to boost the predictive maintenance as well as the quality assurance. And from an infrastructure, an intelligent or smart factory is on edge and cloud computing. And this is where 5G is optimal in an intelligent factory to facilitate that interconnection as well as the AI capabilities. In my next slide, I'm going to share with you what are the technologies and the use cases in our IBM supply chain. Now, IBM has an Industry 4.0 framework to ensure that there is consistency in the adoption of technologies across all of our manufacturing locations. We also have an emerging technology framework to evaluate as well as to incubate new technologies and industry trends for future adoption. Now, I'd like to highlight some of the technologies that you see here. The AR and the AR smart glasses, as well as the mixed reality. Now, this is to equip our engineers with real-time information and also to enhance their digital experience in terms of collaboration. Now, moving on to the cobots as well as the robotics automation. Now, this is integrated with AI capabilities for adaptive manufacturing. Then you have the digital twin. The digital twin of the factory uses the semantic data model where you can link the OT and the IT information for your predictive as well as your prescriptive analytics. And lastly, when we talk about the advanced analytics and the deep learning, it is really to augment humans in terms of our decision making. Now, you hear about all these technologies. Implementing these technologies are possible along with a learning as well as an innovative culture. Employees must embrace new ways of working and need to also invest time and efforts to learn new technologies, as well as how these new technologies can be applied in their operations. They need to also leverage on learning resources, as well as subject matter experts, both internally and externally, to upskill themselves, as well as to share their perspective, improve their thoughts about what's going on, and to learn new knowledge and expertise. This is a high-level view of a 5G-enabled intelligent factory. Now you can see that different technologies, right, are infused in the workflow so as to become or to build a operationally optimized supply chain. Now the factories and the operations, they are connected to abundance of both the structured data, which comes from your machine paramedics data, and the unstructured data. It could be the photos, the videos, and even the sound. So that's where we will need the capability to connect this massive IoT data, as well as the bandwidth and the latency, to achieve real-time analytics and optimization. Only with that, you can achieve a real digital twin of the factory where you can improve quality, enhance your operations, your performance, KPI, as well as to have the data-driven insights for predictive as well as better decision making. I'd like to share with you a video on how IBM uses augmented reality and cobots integrated with EAI in our factories, and how this drives the need for 5G.
Robotics are commonly used to automate manual tasks. A further enhancement is to integrate artificial intelligence with collaborative robot. In IBM Guadalajara plant, we have elevated the automation capability by integrating collaborative robots or cobots with AI visual recognition. The server will first be inspected through the AI visual recognition solution before the robotics automation kicks in on physical assembly process. This integration of AI with robotic automation amplifies the benefits by maintaining consistency in the quality inspection process as well as precision in the assembly process. Industrial augmented reality is an integral part of Industry 4.0. With AR, workers can access digital information easily, and the digital information can be overlaid on the physical wall. In IBM, we have implemented an augmented remote assist solution, which allows workers to receive remote technical support in a clear manner. Through the video stream, the expert can evaluate the problem and give step-by-step visual instruction to the field technicians by overlaying real-time 2D or 3D annotations on the depiction of the physical hardware. This has resulted in faster response time and fixed time for the issues that were encountered on the manufacturing floor. 5G facilitates the needs of high bandwidth requirements, such as in augmented reality solutions, and low latency requirements, such as in robotics. With the high bandwidth and low latency feature, 5G enhances the dynamic network configuration and management, placing reception and speed where it's needed.
Now, we heard a lot about the features of 5G and what 5G can do. So I'd like to summarize by saying that 5G provides significant improvements, and the three key features are 20 times higher bandwidth, more than 10 times in terms of the lower latency, and 10 times higher connectivity in terms of the connection density. And these three key features are very critical for a deployment of an intelligent smart factory or the Industry 4.0. So how do industries benefit from these three key features? Let's take a look at the high bandwidth. It is great for augmented reality solutions because you need to download high content and 3D models down to your devices. And for solutions that are not heavy on data, that involve the robots and the autonomous vehicles, you require the low latency so that the moment you send the commands, the response from the robot is there. And how about the high connection density? It is for us to integrate the multiple sensors in the IoT environment. And in the center, you'll see that this is really suitable for big data, as well as video analytics, because it has a high flow of the data, it comes from multiple sources, and it requires fast transmission to your machine learning engine. So how does organization use 5G to create the value in an industry 4.0, and especially to thrive, right, in this very epic disruption? So first we must understand what is the context of a factory ecosystem. Data will flow in from internal sources such as your workflows, and external from suppliers and the environment. So with the high bandwidth, the high connection density, and the low latency, it will give you the agility of the wireless connection, and it facilitates the interconnection of factory machines as well as the IoT-driven insights. So with 5G, AI computation can be pushed from the edge devices to the edge compute server. And with that, it actually allows more shared resources, and it gives you that flexibility to scale up your solutions. And also, most important, your real-time AI decision making. So the factory can now use 5G as well as the edge computing to quickly analyze your IoT data right now at your shop floor, and also to enable your automated machine and your industrial robots. So with that, it can help to drive operational improvements and a greater customer value. So with that, I'd like to conclude by saying that 5G, the adoption, is a journey. It's a journey, and it needs to have a vibrant and effective ecosystem. Nations has to be there to be governing the deployment and the rollout of 5G in the country. Industry players needs to embrace the adoption and understand the benefits and use it in their business use cases. And solution providers to integrate the Industry 4.0 with the 5G connectivity. I'm very pleased to share that in March last year, IBM has opened a 5G-enabled Industry 4.0 studio in Singapore, where we are hosting innovative solutions that involve the testing of real-world applications used not only in manufacturing, but also in various other sectors. And so with this success in 5G, 5G will be implemented in our Poughkeepsie manufacturing location and even other manufacturing locations moving on, and using Industry 4.0 as our underlying technology. So with that, I truly believe that 5G provides an enormous opportunities for organizations to create new values and helping in the transformation in their operations. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone and hope that this sharing has given you more insights on why 5G is important in an industry 4.0. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tun. I will be visiting your experience center tomorrow.
Yes, I'll be seeing you.
Yes, thank you. So it's not about just automation of manufacturing, but I think what Ms. Tun has shown is that we need to reach that next level, which is intelligent manufacturing. Okay, now we will come to the final part of the session on connected manufacturing by inviting our 4 panelists up on stage. We will have again Dr. Chen Hui, who is the Assistant Chief Executive for Business and Technology Group of IMDA. She was our first keynote speaker earlier today. Please, Ms. Chen. Next up, we have Mirela Urvela, APAC Business Development Lead, IoT and Robotics for AWS. Mirela, welcome. Then we have Mr. Boon Chun Lim, who is the President for Korea, ASEAN, Pacific, and India of Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. Our fourth and final panelist for this event will be Sebastian Tan, who is the Senior VP, Head of Enterprise Communications 5G, ST Engineering. A warm welcome to all of you. Okay, I think we have clearly seen that in the last 2 years or more during the pandemic, right, how steep the digital adoption has been, both from consumer or business. Today, our discussion is focused around connected manufacturing, so highlighting the need of automation, robots, all right, remote control, improvement in supply chain, resilience, and boost in production speed and flexibility. So this panel will focus on how we are to continue advancing the policy, the technology, and partnership in manufacturing industry. So I'll start with all of you all. The first two questions, I'll go one by one. I think you can share, right, what you have been doing in your role, right, today, and your company in terms of connected manufacturing, especially in this pandemic, after this pandemic. Why don't you start, Mr. Woodley?
Okay, hi. Very pleased to be here. My name is Boon Chun from Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. Hexagon is a Swedish company, and we are into the sensors as well as software leading to autonomy. So during these 2 years, we of course saw that many of our customers in the factories, they couldn't even operate their plants. That was for a period of time. And then when they started coming back, our customers were also finding that, okay, the governments maybe restrict the number of workers. So they need to be able to do more with less workers. And they need to do a lot of things remotely. So we have done some things like allowing customers to run their software from home instead of in the office. But besides that, it's also really to transfer information to make it much easier for them to capture those information from anywhere. So the ability to have that connection is very important. The second thing is connected ecosystem. From the manufacturing, from the beginning to the end, starting from design to the actual manufacturing itself to the final quality check, we have different devices that we link up so that when you make a change in the design, how does it impact your actual manufacturing? How does it impact your final quality? Those things are being linked up also. So today we have this kind of connected platform. Go to the next.
Dr. Chen.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. So IMDA actually has 3 roles, right? So we are the regulator around things such as data, the telcos, postal, as well as content. We are also the industry developer on a lot of things that are digital. And last but not least, we are also the social leveler. So we have that a role to play around social inclusion. I think your question is both around smart manufacturing as well as around what has been done over the pandemic. So over the past 2 years, some of the things that we have been working on, perhaps a little bit independent of the pandemic, is to continue to invest in research and development. Right, so our investment in research and development is around the Future Communications Program, and that has a component around smart manufacturing simply because manufacturing drives a lot of the innovations that are actually needed in mobile comms. Just now I also mentioned that one of the ways in which we work with the industries over the past few years is to prepare for the rollout of 5G. So through our 5G innovation program, we do work with across all sectors, manufacturing being one of them that we are seeing growing demand for 5G as well as innovative use cases within 5G. But perhaps outside of the communications, right, IMDA as an industry developer, we also have a role to help our industries digitalize, and this cuts across all the sectors. So for example, our SME Go Digital program is one program that actually works with solution providers get their solutions pre-approved according to how we wanted our different sectors to actually evolve. So with these pre-approved solutions, we actually then provide subsidies for SMEs that actually want to adopt some of these solutions. So advanced manufacturing actually is one of the sectors that is the focus, and where we actually develop a kind of solution map in order to help our SMEs. And perhaps last but not least is more in terms of my personal capacity. I'm part of the CSA's OT Cybersecurity Experts Panel, right? And OT is present in all parts of manufacturing. So one of the things that we are also looking into is to look at how regulations and governance needs to be applied into the manufacturing sector.
Thank you.
So those are three ways. Thanks.
Next, Mirella, would you like to?
Thank you, very interesting. Hi, good morning, everybody. Pleased to be here. Thank you very much, GSMA, for the invitation. So Mirella Jurable, I look after business development for APJ, for IoT and robotics at AWS. I'm focusing on industrial and public sector. When it comes on industrial, there are many domains behind industrial. We're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about power and utilities, which are also asset-heavy industries. So what AWS does in this domain? Well, we help customers and we try to make it easy for them to innovate, to scale, and to develop new products and services, leveraging purpose-built services from AWS, from cloud infrastructures such as compute, storage, database, to more advanced services such as IoT, robotics, AI, ML, and recently launched TwinMaker, AWS IoT TwinMaker, to enable digital twins. We enable our customers through solutions, through very high standard security and data privacy capabilities. We are complying worldwide, well, a vast amount of standards available in various countries, and through our vast ecosystem of partners. Partners which are present on the marketplace, which is publicly available, and also partners which we work directly. And when it comes to partners, we're working with consulting company, hardware manufacturers, regulators as well, and ISVs companies. A few things that we observed when it comes to connected manufacturing. Today we see builders, and we are seeing end customers, right? We are seeing builders which are industrial companies which want to enhance their product portfolio with SaaS solution, leveraging cloud capabilities, and also to expand globally. So we use our purpose-built services and professional services to help them. And then we see end customers with sometimes limited build capabilities, IT capabilities, and this is where we provide, together with partners, end-to-end solutions to address their needs. So yeah, many applications, many needs we are serving today, but we might talk about that later.
Thank you, Mirella. Sebastian?
Thank you. Yeah, so Sebastian from SD Engineering. Good afternoon to the attendees here. Yeah, just to share an experience in terms of what SD Engineering is moving in the 5G space. Now, as we all know, SD Engineering is we have very vast businesses that cut across different industries, from aerospace, MRO, into buildings, into transportations, smart buildings, as well as also we are into the from commercial all the way into the defense and public security space as well. And more importantly, but not least, is advanced manufacturing space, where we have extensive operations that set up in Singapore and of course around the world in Europe, Americas, as well in the Middle East with our subsidiary. Now, our operations in manufacturing, we're focusing in high value, high mix, which means that we literally make high value products in in the transformation of the Singapore manufacturing industry. We have embraced as a move on to go into the high manufacturing product development and manufacturing for our customers within Asia Pacific region, as well as also beyond the shore of Asia. Now, as we go into the manufacturing space, we also have been following the transformation journey of Industry 4.0, the adoptions of technology to enhance our operation and efficiency. Part of the journey is building in the people, process, and tools and technology to enhance the design and the products that we develop for our customers. Now, as we move into 5G itself, part of our strategy enterprise-wide is that we will have a 5G focus, and part of that strategy within the 5G focus, as shared by the speakers here, Dr. Ong, as well as also from our value partners in Amazon and even from Singtel, we embrace and we are creating our ecosystem. We recognize there's no one who can manage and be able to set up a 5G ecosystem or do everything by themselves. We need to create an ecosystem of technology partners as well as business partners to come together with SD Engineering, right, to collaborate, to co-innovate, as well as also to co-invest in 5G solutions and technology, which we can use it to enhance and improve our business as well as also for our customers. So that is the journey that we are beginning. And of course, with the support from the regulator, we also have been taking the steps to drive towards partnering our technology partner to come together to adopt and also to invest in the 5G solutions that we will make effect and implement into our factory floor space within Singapore. And of course, we will want to propagate that out into the rest of the other install base that we have around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. So we'll reverse the order. The next question will start with Sebastian and move down this way. So, the question would be basically, how do you see 5G will help manufacturing sector today and in the coming future?
Yeah, I think the speaker has just shared, and we have seen the videos from IBM as well in the intelligent factory, we call it smart factory. Being a manufacturer ourselves and understanding there are different kind of manufacturing business. As I spoke to some of our some of our manufacturing customers as well, they are into what we call high volume, low mix manufacturing process for those global manufacturers. And for us, we are into the high value, high mix, where we do innovation in terms of electronic technology that we've done for the enterprises. Now, as we go into this journey of transforming post-pandemic, and prior to that, we have already mapped out a Industry 4.0 plan. And we recognize that we need to take the step to enhance our capability within our businesses itself as we engage the potential customers and the customers to be in the future where we go into the next generation of the manufacturing products that's evolving in the marketplace. And to do that, we need to be ready for that. What we mean by that is that our people and our process and the way how we construct our manufacturing plant, the floor space, from a very fixed current tradition, standard ways of conveyor belt systems, machinery to machinery with a lot of operators involved, we envisage with the use of cobots, where we talk about having AMR, autonomous mobile robot with robotic arms to do triple functions, to do multi-functions, to aid the operators so that the operators can evolve into other areas. They can take on scopes of doing R&D and even into QC. So we will continue to entice the younger generation to join the manufacturing segment. The other thing itself is also about the other areas that will enhance, the first point will enhance the productivity and the capability of our manufacturing business itself. The other part is on also for 5G itself, we envisage beyond the use of robotics, we are also using visual analytics to actually look into our production line so that as we understand the global pandemic has a major disruption to the supply chain, the raw material, the oil, and also the other costs has been rising. One way for us to minimize wastage is to use AI to provide visual analytics on the manufacturing floor space. So as the manufacturing process goes through the different stages, we are able to call out using AI as a first pair of eyes intelligently to pick up issues that may have occurred. And with that, we are able to then interject and make the corrective measure on time so that it doesn't propagate into a faulty product that requires retrofitting, repair, and so on and so forth, thereafter, thus increasing more costs. And also at the other part of it, the last point is also to enable using of robotic first I've mentioned, and then using of visual analytics. The other will be on sensor, preventive maintenance as well. So that's very key. As we continue to go into the high value, high mix, which means our production line will now be, each production line, if you can follow me, is that we will have different production line producing different kind of product ranges that are not the same, right? And with that, we need to have the ability, right, to be able to monitor and also be able to coach and supervise the operation on the ground effectively. Now we are bringing digital twins as well as also remote supervisory capabilities across our different manufacturing plant into a central control office, so that the experienced staff, the supervisor, can be able to provide real-time on-site support remotely to the staff on the ground as the manufacturing process continue business as usual. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Mirella, any comments? Or will you?
So definitely ST Engineering is one of AWS partners.
That's
We're
right.
working here in Singapore and also across Asia Pacific. Of course, you heard here most of the use cases enabled by 5G, but also technology in manufacturing. I have no more to add here. Maybe I will add a different angle, okay? I will add the angle of the customer adoption or customer realization of the use case. So today, when it comes to digital transformation in manufacturing, what we are observing is that customers are at different level of maturity. Different level of maturity when it comes to IT capability or digital literacy, but also digital level of maturity in terms of the way they are organized in terms of production processes and so on. So, and most of the time, if we look at the maturity curve, the first steps, it's about monitoring, right? Condition monitoring of assets and processes, and then analytics of the data ingested, prescriptive maintenance, and then transformation of the business models through new products and services. When it comes to AWS and cloud adoption, we all know that manufacturing companies are sometimes reticent when it comes to cloud adoption due to the security concerns and privacy, but obviously here there are some regulation AWS complies with. I think what is important to remark is the ability, the fact that we support our customer to innovate and scale horizontally and vertically. What we observe is that usually customers start with a use case, right? They ingest data, which takes quite a lot of time, as you all know, installing sensor, right? Integrating data from SCADA system, from historians, various protocols and equipments. But once the data is in the cloud and the customer realize one use case, they immediately want more, right? So as an example, one of our biggest customer in Europe is Heineken Connected Brewery, right? We started with a small use case, working backwards from the customer needs. As you know, in AWS, we are customer obsessed. We always work backwards from the business process. We started with a very simple monitoring use case, and then we ended up with 32 use cases that we could have enabled with various services. Use cases ranging from predictive maintenance to energy monitoring and consumption, and water monitoring and consumption, and cleaning processes, and other sustainability. So with cloud, customer can innovate when it comes to the multitude of use cases, horizontally as well as vertically. If we add more production lines, more countries, more geography. The other angle that I wanted to reach is, well, we talk about the manufacturing and the production. The other value that we see is developing new products, connected products, right? Smart homes, maybe this is not the right session, right? Smart homes, connected car. This is also something that is changing the way manufacturers are designing their value propositions moving forward.
Thank you very much. Dr. Chen?
Yeah. So I must say both Mira and Sebastian have covered a lot of the ground. So I would say that because of the way 5G actually works, the fact that 5G is actually available everywhere, one of the things that we are hearing is that there's a lot of desire to kind of replicate success, both the success here and then replicate it overseas, or the successful use cases overseas and then to replicate it here. So there's a certain global nature that I kind of feel 5G is actually driving, especially when it comes to manufacturing, right? And if you think about it, because of this notion of 5G somehow enabling a lot of the success to be portable across different countries, I do think that there are a lot of possibilities that can be unleashed. Once the kind of like on the connected manufacturing floor, if there are a lot of similar setups, a lot of similar ways in which we are actually collecting the data, a lot of similar analytics that's actually done across different geographical regions, I would think that there will be beyond what connectivity actually allows, beyond the kind of sensor deployment, the kind of analytics on each manufacturing floor, the power for manufacturing going forward, especially for global manufacturers, is really that you can harness the data across all the various regions in order to create much more powerful and much more agile applications going forward. So I think that is definitely one thing that I'll be excited to see in the future, even as we are really at the stage of trying to pilot and commercialize the first initial use cases.
Thanks.
I'd like to talk about flexibility as well as the speed of innovation. If you look at manufacturing back 100 years ago, we're talking about mass production. We're talking about lean engineering. We're talking about how to do things in a standardized form. But today, as you heard from all the speakers, he bought his Nike shoe, really customized. We see a lot of companies over here, as well as our customers, who has high mix, low volume. And so it's always a pain for them to make changes. And if you want to make changes in your factory, you know, a typical factory would have hundreds of kilometers of wires down there. And to be able to reconfigure your factory, to be able to do things much more flexibly, you need to be more agile, more flexible. Instead of, bringing your part to the quality room to check and things like this, you want to be able to have maybe even an AGV that brings your measuring device to your part. Just scan it there, totally wireless. So that kind of flexibility is important. One of our technology partners is Red Bull Racing. And it was very interesting. I heard him, one of the people speaking, that in a race in a year, they go through something like 20 over countries, and they have to make 30,000 engineering changes to their cars. Otherwise, they will end up at the bottom of the table. So between each race, they would make modification, and they only have like 2 or 3 weeks before they go to the next race. So that kind of flexibility is driving things. And we see that in manufacturers. For example, one of our customers is Molex, electrical connector manufacturer. The customer presented a case 2 months ago, how they design new connectors and be able to reduce their product introduction time from 16 weeks to 8 weeks through some of these digital twin, digital things that we do. So we see that kind of things. We see, for example, today there's a movement of moving things into the cloud to make it much more easy for customers to deploy digital solutions. Those kind of things requires connectivity, requires speed, requires that flexibility. That's what we see among our customers.
Thank you, Bunchun. Okay, next question I have is for Dr. Chen from IMDA. We'd like to know, right, how does IMDA support the, the sector, manufacturing sector, digitalize? Can you elaborate a bit?
Okay. So digitalization is actually a big thing and a big focus within IMDA. But at the same time, I think the digitalization is also a journey, and different companies may actually be at different parts of the journey. So a lot of the smaller players, right, especially in the SME space, what we are seeing is that sometimes maybe even their data is not ready. So while you can have the connectivity, which is quite ubiquitous, if they cannot quite harness their data, then they will have problems getting onto that whole digitalization journey. And so for this group, typically what we try to do is that we actually give advisories, right, on how you can actually organize your data according to the different business flows. So we call that a better data-driven business, focusing at this moment on around sales, around some productivity. So around different parts of the business, how you should organize your data so that you can harness it later. Then just now I mentioned a little about the SME Go Digital, which is about knowing what kind of solutions you can purchase so that you can then actually be able to do analysis, you can better be able to tap on your data after that. So SME Go Digital, as well as the pre-approved solutions, is another way in which we help our companies after they have gotten their data organized. We also recently launched the CTO as a service, right? This is an application so that the companies who are on the digitalization journey, they can actually tap on a common pool of CTOs to give them advice on what next for them on the digitalization. Now, these are around SMEs, but we do have companies who are perhaps a little bit more mature. Then this, for example, we also have a digital leaders program that's actually targeting companies that are actually slightly larger. So they will have gotten their data organized. They do understand the value of analytics. However, they may need to actually hire a crew so that they can go to the next bound. And the digital leaders program is there, both for them to embark on more ambitious projects for their companies, as well as to hire the right people, CTOs and a larger a product team, for example. So this is to enable them to actually be able to move to become more mature on digitalization. Now, but admittedly, there are also very large companies who are more than willing and more than able to do so, right? So the way we actually work with them is to facilitate a few things. One is around open innovation. So if they have problems, they are looking for solutions, we have an open innovation platform that actually help orchestrate and allows them to find solutions from each other. We also work with them around manpower initiatives. For example, if there are training needs that they have, we're more than happy to work with individual companies to be able to address those training needs, right? To provide some of the funding that they need for training their staff, to upskill their staff. And for some of them, they may actually want to start growing teams, AI scientists, or other digital skill sets. And for that, we do actually also offer different kind of training programs, both in schools as well as scholarships for their staff to actually be able to pursue. So these are just some of the ways in which we kind of work together with all segments of industries, right, in order to empower them and to work with them on digitalization.
Thanks, Dr. Chen. Sebastian, can you share how 5G can help to defray the rising costs of the manufacturing sector?
Well, that's a million, if not $1 billion question. I think everybody in the room wants to see the monetization and the ROI in terms of investment of technology for the business. Now, as I shared earlier on, in the manufacturing industry, it's highly competitive and it's global in nature. So for the business to be able to compete effectively in the digital era now, we've got to move at that kind of speed as well. Even for the case of manufacturing, which is used to be run-in-the-mill standard configuration. Now, the manufacturing business of tomorrow, where we look into it, and especially in Singapore, we focus into the high-value kind of productions. We need to be very agile, as what our speakers have just shared. The ability of 5G, as we have seen, is able to help us allow the factory, the business itself, to be able to take on new design and new productions in the more efficient way, where we are able to reconfigure our floor space to able to take on different product mix that we will manufacture on behalf of our enterprise customer in the region, so that they can also quicken their time to market to compete. So that's the value of 5G in terms of helping them to be effective. Now, in terms of helping them to, how does 5G help us to manage the cost? As I mentioned, if you are able to now be able to reconfigure our floor space in the matters of weeks, if not months, as compared to previously when we need to reconfigure our line. We have discovered this during the 2020 time when the pandemic just hit the world. We are trying to pivot our business into another manufacturing product, and we found that it's very difficult to reconfigure that process. It took us almost 6 months to be able to go into that line of business. Now, if we can implement solutions that we do not now know, we have smart measuring hub. There's no longer different machinery doing singular functions, but now be able to do robotic functions. You're able to execute manufacturing process within a manufacturing hub that we call a station that's able to do 5 or 6 processes. That has consolidated the footprint. And thereby, it also help us to make our business more sustainability, because we are now able to maximize the potential of our factory's floor space, not just manufacturing a single line product, but many other as well. So that itself allows us to be able to grow our business with the same investment or assets, especially in Singapore, where land is scarce, and we need to maximize every single single space that we have. So that is in terms of managing costs. And the other part of it is also about the people. When we went on the journey of Industry 4.0, we found, as what was shared by the speaker, that the culture and the organization need to be ready, right? And we found that we have a mix of young talent as well as also matured senior staff as well. Now, all of them comes with different expectation. And able to have a sustainable business, we must be able to attract, retain, and motivate this talent as well. So by introducing new way of doing things more efficiently, the younger generation, they are more enthusiastic and willing to join the manufacturing segment itself. And also for our mature staff as well, which are valuable, we are able to then redeploy them into areas of value adding in QC as well, also helping in sharing their know-how to mentor the younger generation, and also to contribute to the experience they've learned into future product development. They're about creating, help us to manage our costs as we do not go to replace, and we have a movement of staff in that space as well. Yeah, so these are the few areas, but of course with technology you have the sensory network, and I think the one key thing about 5G while itself is a convergence of communication and compute together. That's one thing. But we also learned the experience is that why not Wi-Fi? We went through the trial and pilot ourselves across the last 1.5 years. And we try to deploy singular solutions. Yeah, Wi-Fi works somewhat, sometimes a bit laggy because unlicensed band, you got a lot of interruption and so on and so forth. Sometimes we can bear with. But do bear in mind, when you go into a smart factory of tomorrow, it's not just a singular robot. You're talking about robotic fleet management. You're not talking about you're not talking about single visual inspection. You're talking about multiple video cameras doing different video analytic functions across the entire floor space. And as you aggregate all this into within the same environment itself, you'll find that Wi-Fi and traditional connectivity will become very cumbersome and very difficult to converge together. So the need for a wireless technology that's low latency, secure because of the fact that your production does have sensitive information that you want to retain internally, does play into the favor of 5G technology.
Thank you, Sebastian. I don't want to be the most hated person in this room because I know lunch is already 8 minutes past. So I'll just do the wrap up. I will ask all of you all just to briefly share, right, what advice would you give the enterprises today in terms of connected manufacturing? Start with you, Bunjun.
I would say that the mindset is important because in Singapore, I see a lot of companies as being very dependent on government initiative, thanks to the government. But really, if we really want to be world beaters, we want to win, we need to have that mindset to say that I'm willing to consider, take time to learn about it and make that effort.
Thank you, Bunjun.
Yeah. So I would say that actually 5G is actually a big leap forward. There are a lot of architectural enhancements, protocol enhancements that actually allows for a lot of different ways in which the manufacturing can tap on, right? I mean, we have talked a lot about the reconfigurable manufacturing floor. We have talked a lot about using other key foundational technologies such as AI, digital twins, and we've talked about transforming the workforce. But however, leveraging of 5G does require you to put a part of your business operations on a telco. It's going to be a different partner. It does require some rethink of how you want to protect the data that you have. How are you going to work with the schedules and the SLAs that the telcos actually provide? It will be different. It may be different. Very uncomfortable, but definitely there are more possibilities that will be unleashed if we actually tap on 5G. So go forth and innovate. Thanks.
Mirella?
I'll try to be very short. First of all, digital transformation is a journey. It's not a one-time activity. Secondly, as the gentleman said, it's about mindset, okay? If we don't change the change, we will be forced to change. So it's better to drive change in order to suit the purposes rather than run behind somebody else. Secondly, there is a vibrant ecosystem of partners out there, technology partner, consulting partner that can help manufacturing companies in this journey. And the whole point is start quick. Fail fast, try again, iterate until you find the right solution. And last but not least, we talked about skills, upskilling and bringing everybody around this digital transformation journey together. It's very important. There are plenty of courses, materials out there available, free, thought leadership, examples of successes from around the world. Of course, AWS is one of the websites where you can find so many materials, architecture framework use cases. So use them. They use them with care. And last but not least, come and meet your fellow companies in the industry and learn from their failures as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this, for manufacturing itself, right, as we transform, the transformation journey is going to be not a sprint, but it's going to be, you need time to mature. And to do that, you need to have partnership. You need to have partnership journey with you, as I shared earlier on, The partnership will require the ecosystems of partners from various industries so that we can collaborate together from technology, from regulator, as well also from the other global entity as well. And as we come together, we can collaborate, and then we can also co-develop. And very importantly is also to have a co-investment mindset so that we can both, everybody walks off a win-win situation where we can extract the benefit out from this transformation journey together. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your participation. Don't forget at 2 o'clock, Advanced Mobility and Transportation is on. So please come back. Sorry I didn't have any time for Q&A with the panelists, but I think you can meet the panelists outside for direct questions. Thank you all. Enjoy your lunch.